642-642.
Welcome back to Get Down to Business. We are the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship, and thrilled to be joined by Ed Bolen, the president and CEO of the National Business Aviation Association. Ed, welcome to Get Down to Business. I understand that Captain Sully Sullenberger, the famous pilot who performed that heroic emergency landing of the U.S. Airways flight on the Hudson River, has been advocating on an issue about privatization of air traffic control. Ed, we appreciate being on the show to talk about this issue. Why does Captain Sullenberger, why is he so passionate about this, and what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, it's not just Captain Sully. It's a whole group of people, consumers, general aviation groups, mayors, city council people from around the country, and, of course, Sully himself are all concerned about this kind of power grab by the nation's big airlines to try to take over control of our nation's air traffic system. Basically move this public asset into a private entity that they will effectively control. And I think a lot of people are very concerned about how the airlines will operate if they have that kind of power.
So, Ed, you in your role, you are working on a lot of issues regarding aviation, but you recently said that the House Bill 2997 is the single greatest threat to the future of general aviation that we have faced. And
that's right.
That's a pretty staggering statement. Why, if it's so dangerous, why? I mean, what's going on in these members of Congress's head that they are entertaining this? And I know that this is something, while so much else in Congress is stalled, this is something that has a real chance at actually moving along. What's the other argument? Like, why is this even a discussion?
Well, I think it's an issue that's been mislabeled as privatization. When I hear the word privatization, I think a lot of us hear the word competition, innovation, and so forth. But that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about a natural monopoly. The nation's air traffic control system is and always has been a monopoly. And so the question is, who's going to oversee that monopoly and whose interest are they going to run it in? And, of course, the concern is if you take this public asset away from the public's elected representatives and give it to special interest groups, they're going to run it for their own special interest.
Sure. And it sounds like this is going to be packaged into the FAA Reauthorization, which means that perhaps the comments of Captain Sully may not be taken into complete consideration. But Ed, all of our listeners, we all travel all the time. I'm on planes every week. I was recently in San Francisco, and it was the day that I was in San Francisco that I heard about a near miss through air traffic control in San Francisco. We're all hearing these stories all the time, and it seems like it's happening more frequently than ever before. Would you agree that some form of restructuring would be appropriate? What do you think is going on in air traffic control and the system right now that is working well and what isn't working? What changes would you propose?
Well, first of all, no one should confuse privatization and modernization. These are two separate and distinct issues, although the airlines have tried to mix them together a little bit. In terms of our nation's air traffic control system, the U.S. does operate the largest, the safest, the most efficient, and the most diverse air transportation system in the world. But I think we can do better. I think we can do better by providing more stable funding for the FAA, and there are certainly ways to do that. We also are leading the effort to modernize the system by transitioning to more digital communication, satellite-based navigation, which is very much on track. But I think it's worth noting that a lot of our delays, the majority of our delays, are caused by the airline's scheduling practices and weather. So I think people need to temper their expectations about where we're going to go in the future as long as we have airlines involved that continue with their scheduling practices, that do not invest in their own technology. That's going to be kind of the pacing item as we try to move forward.
Ed, we are quickly running out of time, but I'm curious if there's a system globally that you can point to that you think we need to explore more carefully and possibly replicate here in the U.S.?
Well, there have been other parts of the world that have turned over their air traffic to private entities. The United Kingdom has done it. They published a paper a couple of weeks ago that said they're approaching a meltdown. In the past, they've needed bailouts. Germany has had the government have to come back in and take over some towers. So I'm not sure looking to other countries is always the best way to go forward, especially if the U.S. has the largest and the safest and the most efficient system in the world. But I do think there are steps we can take, and certainly you can expect our community to be at the forefront at making that a reality.
So modernization is good, and certainly you're pointing to systems that we should not follow, and that's very important. And again, you have the strong advocacy and support of Captain Sully, who everybody has heard his story, and he's strongly opposed to this. Ed Bolen, we appreciate you coming on the show. Is there a website that you would direct our listeners to if they want to learn more about the subject?
Yeah, it's called atcnotforsale.com. You can even see the Sully talking about it if you go to the website.
atcnotforsale.com. We appreciate you joining us, Ed Bolen. Thank you so much. Coming up after the break, we got a real treat, a real small business owner, a startup right here in studio with us. You don't want to miss it, Chicago. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after this quick break.